for India's commitment to renewable energy and to the international climate agenda. Renewable energy is key to reaching the goals set out in the Paris Agreement. India's ambition of 450 gigawatt renewable energy, with 30 gigawatts coming from offshore wind in 2030, is admirable. Put things in perspective. If your offshore target is achieved, India will avoid CO2 emissions that corresponds to almost 1.5 times the annual collected CO2 emissions from Denmark's energy consumption. This shows you the magnitude of the ambitions. India's targets on renewable energy show a strong determination to become an international leader on sustainable development. It sends a strong signal to the industry and to the rest of the world that you are fully committed. I want to give a big thanks to the Indian government for a successful and growing cooperation, most recently underlined with the new Green Strategic Partnership as agreed by our Honourable Prime Ministers in September. The Green Strategic Partnership is a major step in the right direction to meet our common green ambitions and support UN's Sustainable Development Goals. With this partnership, we equally prioritize a closer cooperation on climate, green transition and trade. I hope that this approach will serve as inspiration for others on tackling these matters. The Green Strategic Partnership makes very good sense, because even though Denmark might be very small compared to India, I will quote your Honourable Prime Minister Modi in saying, Denmark has the skills and India has the scale. And more importantly, now we need scope and speed. The Green Strategic Partnership builds on an already successful government-to-government cooperation on energy. The Indian-Danish energy collaboration has developed quickly since its beginning in 2018. The Danish experiences on offshore wind integration of renewables and electricity planning are already being utilized in India. The successful cooperation on wind energy has already contributed to the development of an Indian wind industry, and it has already created many jobs. I am very excited that the strong Indo-Danish cooperation has entered into a new chapter. This includes an upcoming Danish membership of the International Solar Alliance and strong cooperation on offshore wind and renewable energy. I know that India has shown interest for the Danish work on energy islands. We will be happy to include you on our journey with our ambitious projects. We want to establish the world's first energy islands by 2030. The project is taking offshore wind and integration of renewable energy to the next level. Large-scale power-to-X investments will enable us to store the vast amounts of energy transported and converted into other energy forms. Countries all over the world will be looking to phase out fossil fuels and to integrate new clean fuels like green hydrogen. Development of market-mature green hydrogen is not something that will happen in a very distant future. Green energy is not only needed in the fight against climate change, it is also good for business. I know this for a fact. In Denmark, we've managed to grow our economy while simultaneously reducing energy consumption and bringing down emissions. Decoupling economic growth and energy consumption will be vital to combat climate change. It is inevitable that we scale up on renewable energy to avoid the dire consequences of climate change. Climate risk is probably one reason why private investors are increasingly looking towards sustainable green investments in their financial products. There are several reasons. One is the price of renewable electricity is lower than that of fossil fuels in many markets, and the trend is that fossil fuels will be outperformed over the next few years. Another reason in simply the green investments are no longer only a matter of doing the right thing or mitigating risk. they also make good financial sense in their own right. COVID-19 has even highlighted this trend. During the pandemic, stocks that take into account environmental, social, and governance factors have generally outperformed the rest of the stock market. Investing in renewables and green technologies will create jobs and growth. We see that in the offshore wind industry in Denmark. On the west coast of our country, the city of Esbjerg was for hundreds of years depending on the fishing industry, and later on jobs in the offshore oil and gas exploration industry. Today, the offshore wind industry has taken over the harbor. Former fishermen are making a living sailing technicians to the offshore wind farms. It makes sense because the local fishermen know the sea better than anyone. Similarly, workers with experience from oil and gas platforms contribute with valuable knowledge when establishing offshore wind farms. Renewables do not only power our factories, our homes, and our cars. They will also power our employment rates. My hope is that a strengthened partnership between India and Denmark will create new jobs in the renewable energy sector and attract companies from the energy industry. Because the right thing to do has become the smart thing to do. The world is changing rapidly. We must act now, and we have so much to gain if we work together. Instead of unilateral national approaches, we have to cooperate and co-invest in projects that enable us to share know-how and green solutions. That means all relevant actors, both governments, investors, and industry. More and more companies and decision makers around the world understand that there is no alternative to a green transition. If we can move in the same direction together, we can reduce our CO2 emissions on a whole new scale. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we have a very close partnership with Denmark in the field of renewable energy, and it will get closer. Now it's my pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Alok Sharma, the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, the Government of United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is also going to preside over COP26. So, Your Excellency, your remarks will be very relevant. Mr. Alok Sharma.
Thank you very much. Honourable Prime Minister Modi, Minister Singh, fellow ministers, Your Excellencies. It's an absolute honour to participate in this summit today. Prime Minister Modi ji has often said, the world is one family. And there is no clearer example of this than when we look at climate change. No one nation or sector can tackle the problem alone. The world will succeed or fail as one. We all have a part to play as countries, companies, investors, cities, regions, and individuals. To avoid the worst effects of climate change, we must decarbonize the global economy 5 times faster over the next 10 years than we have done over the past 20. We all know that the power sector accounts for 1/4 of global emissions. Decarbonizing is absolutely vital, not only to reduce emissions, but to boost access to power and to support clean growth and development. And this is why, as COP26 President, energy is one of the 5 key areas that I'm urging all countries to focus on. And there is no doubt for us, India is a key partner, because here you are a global leader, with pioneering international initiatives like the International Solar Alliance, One Sun, One World, One Grid, the World Solar Bank, and the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, which the UK is very pleased to support. India is home to a renewable energy revolution. The scale and pace of change is absolutely remarkable, with solar capacity increasing by around 13 times in 5 years, and with some of the lowest solar prices in the world. You've already connected 700 million people to power since the year 2000. And thanks to Prime Minister Modi's commitment to generate 450 gigawatts of renewable power within a decade, there will be much, much more to come. Now, it is our experience in the United Kingdom that setting such targets provides investors with confidence and clarity. In the UK, our emission reductions targets have helped us to grow our economy by 75% over the last 30 years, whilst at the same time reducing our emissions by 43%. And it's helped us develop the world's largest offshore wind sector. We will accelerate that success with Prime Minister Boris Johnson's new plan for a green industrial revolution, which we announced last week. And this includes a commitment to quadruple our offshore wind capacity within a decade, which of course will support many thousands of jobs. And I know that India has also enjoyed a surge of investments in renewables. This of course is vital. To make the global energy transition a reality, we need investors to keep seizing the opportunities presented by the renewables revolution in India and of course around the world. And these opportunities are enormous. A study by Imperial College in London and the IEA found that investments in renewables have repeatedly outperformed those in fossil fuels. Whether you look at this over the past 10 years, the past 5 years, or indeed, as Ms. Jorgensen said, in 2020 itself. Solar and wind are already cheaper than coal power in 2/3 of countries. And momentum is building globally behind net zero, with Japan, South Korea, China all recently setting targets. Colleagues and friends will know that on the 12th of December, the UK will co-host a summit with the United Nations and France, and in partnership with Italy and Chile, to mark the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. And this will be a moment for global leaders to show that we can make a step change on climate action. By focusing our efforts collectively internationally, we can drive down costs and increase uptake. And every time we know that the global deployment of solar power doubles, the price has fallen by around 1/3. And that is why the United Kingdom is committed to working in partnership to drive the renewables revolution. We have established the COP26 Energy Transition Council, bringing global leaders together. And we will work with our friends in India on mission innovation, accelerating clean energy innovation globally. We're of course also partnering with the government of India to help mobilize private capital into green investments. And our new UK-India Sustainable Finance Forum will increase the flow of sustainable finance. We are both anchor investors in the Green Growth Equity Fund, catalysing private sector investments from the City of London to infrastructure projects in India. And it is through international partnerships like these, the insight of investors and the ambition countries like India have shown, that we will together continue to usher in the green global future of energy, protecting and nurturing our planet for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And we shall work with the United Kingdom together pursuing our goal for healing nature. Now it's my privilege to put before you a video message by the Prime Minister of Netherlands, His Excellency Mr. Mark Rutte.
Namaste, India. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to be speaking today alongside my fellow Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I'd like to thank Minister Singh for hosting today's Meet and Expo, and Secretary of State Sharma and Minister Jurgensen for their valuable input. I'm delighted to be able to contribute to this important event as guest of honor. India is a key global player in many areas, not least when it comes to climate action and renewable energy. It's great to see how like-minded India and the Netherlands are in these fields. We are both firm supporters of the Paris Agreement and active members of the International Solar Alliance. India has made great progress in developing renewable energy. And now that the cost of renewables has reached a competitive level, the Netherlands is also making headway. But of course, this year has been dominated by coronavirus. The crisis has hit our societies hard in all kinds of ways. But it also presents an opportunity. it gives us a chance, once the virus is under control, to build back better, using green principles. Because green investment will not only help us move closer to our international climate and environmental goals, it will also make our economies more resilient to future shocks. It's an opportunity to reshape the future of energy. So let's make sure that economic recovery policies help us move faster towards a secure and sustainable energy future for everyone. Let's take this opportunity to fast-track investment in renewable energy. This will both serve the world economy and mitigate climate change. Besides understanding the need for climate mitigation, our two countries also know full well how important climate adaptation is. And with that in mind, I'm proud that the Netherlands will be hosting the virtual Climate Adaptation Summit in January. It's the first ever dedicated platform of global leaders aimed at accelerating climate adaptation and resilience. There's already a lot going on in this area, and the Netherlands is happy to be contributing our expertise. In India, for example, we are very active in the agricultural, water and energy sectors. These are all key parts of the global climate adaptation agenda. And when it comes to achieving that agenda, India is a crucial global player. So we very much hope that India will be represented at the highest level at the Climate Adaptation Summit in January. As host of the event, that would make me very happy. Let me now focus on the importance of innovation, because that is the foundation of progress. Innovation will help us meet the big challenges of our time. If we can join forces and bring together as much brain power as possible, we can truly get innovation up to full speed. To that end, the Netherlands has adopted a triple helix approach. Partnerships between businesses, knowledge institutions and government that underpin Dutch economic growth. Today our efforts are guided by mission-oriented innovation policy. The government sets goals that can have a big positive impact on society. Goals like a climate-neutral economy by 2050. With partners, both at home and abroad, we want to develop shared expertise in these fields. So we are keen to work with you. After all, India is a country with a highly innovative mindset and many talented people. Fortunately, India and the Netherlands can boast an excellent bilateral relationship. We were very honored to be your partner country at India's Technology Summit in October last year. And after that success, I'm happy to announce some more exciting news. Next February, we will be organizing the first ever virtual trade mission to India, with a group of companies active in the agricultural, water and renewable energy sectors. We will be traveling all across India, all from the comfort of our computer screens, of course. I also hope that we can build on our strong cooperation at multilateral level, such as the G20. The Netherlands has built up a good track record as a constructive participant under past G20 presidencies, and we are currently working closely with Italy. In the run-up to India's presidency, we'd be very willing to help out and provide practical support if required. Let me finish by again expressing my thanks for inviting me to contribute my ideas today. And I hope the Renewable Energy Investors Meet in Expo will lead to many exciting results. Thank you.
We are grateful to His Excellency Mark Rutte, the Prime Minister of Netherlands, for his address. I now have the privilege of calling upon His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, to address the gathering. Israel and India have a long-standing partnership and a very close partnership. Your Excellency.
Well, thank you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, namaste to all of you, distinguished ministers and participants in this important conference. Let me say that Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of Israel, a great personal friend, and I believe a very great leader of India, because you have changed India's standing in the world. You have made so many reforms and so many changes, including in this question of renewable energy. You've recognized that India has both scale and skills, and the combination of the two is formidable. You have forged new alliances. I will never forget the opportunity when you visited Israel. The two of us waded on the beach, in the water, and we spoke about desalinization, which is important for both of us. I will never forget my unforgettable visit to India when we visited the high-tech center that you were building, in which Israeli companies were represented, or the agricultural farms which are helping Indian farmers in ways that perhaps a few years ago, would have been unimaginable. So I thank you for inviting me to participate in this important summit. I think this is one of the fortunate changes, not many, that COVID has brought. It allows us to meet more, or to see each other more frequently than we otherwise could, and that could be, as Mark Rutte said, a mark of the future. Now, we've all received, amidst the pandemic, some good news on the battle against corona. The new vaccines are promising. I think the end of this terrible pandemic is in sight, but we don't just want a world free of COVID. We want a future with less carbon and less pollution, a future based on green energy. And that's why I welcome this vital initiative by Prime Minister Modi. And I want to assure you that Israel is your partner in this quest. Now, there are three obvious sources of renewable energy, alternative energy. One is wind power, the other is water power, and the third is solar power. There may be more. There are experiments that are being done today with all sorts of alternative and truly unimaginable sources of enormous energy that defy our normal thinking, but that awaits the future, or perhaps it could come a lot faster than we think. Yet today we know that we in Israel have one clear source of alternative energy, and that is sun. We have a lot of sun. And so along with our natural gas finds in the sea, solar energy has allowed us to cut our dependence on coal dramatically. In fact, we lead the world in cutting back on coal consumption. It will reach zero by 2025. We won't have to use it except in emergency situations, which I hope do not happen. But today, solar energy provides some 10% of our energy consumption. Just a few years ago, it was 2%, so it quintupled in a very few years. By 2030, that should pass 25%. And then by then, at midday, during the summer, solar power will produce 100% of our energy requirements. The crucial challenge in solar energy, as you all well know, is storage. How do you conserve solar power when the sun is not shining? And again, I think the answer will be found, perhaps in this area as well, in physics and in human ingenuity. There are people working on this problem and other related energy problems. We have about 400 startup companies just in this area alone. They're creating an entirely new industry. It's amazing what ingenuity does. For example, we have a car industry today. It's not called that, but it produces Waze, the guidance system, the crowdsourcing guidance system, or it produces Mobileye for driverless cars. So we now have a car industry with some 500 cars. But in solar, the 400 startups have now received, or in the energy sector, have now received billions of dollars in investment. And I'm very hopeful that they're going to produce solutions that will benefit, I'm sure, will benefit all of humanity. We have recently forged peace agreements with the UAE and with Bahrain, and our cooperation with them includes all these areas, and specifically solar energy. So I think it's not merely the citizens of Israel and the Gulf states that will benefit. Everybody in the Middle East, Arabs and Jews alike, and well beyond that, will benefit from this. We will provide I believe, a shining example of the benefits of peace to all the countries of the region and of the world. And the last thing that I would like to say is this. Prime Minister Modi and I have spoken about this many times. I believe the future belongs to those who innovate. And the power of innovation enables us to tap new sources of wealth, new sources of energy, the ability to change health, the environment, water, the food we eat, the security as we travel, and so on. This is a fundamental challenge to ideas that only a few decades ago were still prevalent. A few hundred years ago, Malthus predicted that that population growth would outstrip the power of agriculture to provide food, and we see that he was wrong. Not because the population didn't grow, but because human ingenuity allowed food production to grow infinitely more than population growth grew. The same thing continued to inform the Club of Rome with the famous limits to growth. We were not going to be able to grow because, again, our ability to provide the necessary products and services and resources would be drained by our exhaustion of natural resources. This is not to say that we have to not treat the environment. This is to say the opposite, that we can treat the environment, should treat the environment, should stop pollution, should go on to alternative sources by the use of the one resource that we have. It's what's stored in our brains and our minds with the determination to innovate. So I believe that the most important renewable energy is ingenuity and innovation. And all the countries represented here, beginning with India and Israel, and all of you, are committed to seizing innovation in order to seize the future. And on that, I think we can all be very, very hopeful. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's a very enlightening address. Now it's my privilege, the proud privilege, to call upon the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to address the gathering.
His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Israel, honorable ministers from around the world, my cabinet colleagues, chief ministers, lieutenant governors, and distinguished guests. I thank His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Netherlands, for sharing his message. It is wonderful to see all of you as part of the third edition of Reinvest. In the earlier editions, we spoke about our plans for a journey from megawatts to gigawatts in renewable energy. We also spoke about one sun, one world, one grid to leverage solar energy. In a short time, many of these plans are becoming a reality. Friends, in the last 6 years, India is traveling on an unparalleled journey. We are expanding our generation capacity and network to ensure every citizen of India has access to electricity to unlock the full potential. At the same time, we are rapidly expanding generation of energy through renewable sources. I would like to give you some facts. Today, India's renewable power capacity is the fourth largest in the world. It is growing at the fastest speed among all major countries. The renewable energy capacity in India is currently 136 gigawatts. This is about 36% of our total capacity. By 2022, the share of renewable capacity will increase to over 220 gigawatts. You would be happy to know that our annual renewable energy capacity addition has been exceeding that of coal-based thermal power since 2017. In the last 6 years, we increased our installed renewable energy capacity by 2.5 times. In the last 6 years, the installed solar energy capacity has increased 13 times. Friends, India's progress in the field of renewable energy is an outcome of our commitment and conviction in fighting climate change. Even when it was not affordable, we invested in renewable energy. Now, our investment and scale is bringing down cost down. We are showing to the world that sound environment policies can also be sound economics. Today, India is among the very few countries to be on track to achieve the 2-degree compliance goal. Friends, our transition to cleaner sources of energy has been driven by the approach of access, energy efficiency, and evolution. When I talk about providing access to electricity, you can estimate its scale in the numbers. In the last few years, over 2.5 crore or 25 million to 28 million households were provided electricity connections. When I talk about energy efficiency, we have not limited this mission only to one ministry or department. We have ensured that it becomes a target from the entire government. All our policies have a consideration of achieving energy efficiency. This includes LED bulbs, LED street lights, smart meters, push to electric vehicles, and decreasing transmission losses. When I talk about energy evolution, with PM Kusum, we are aiming to power our agriculture sector by providing solar-based power to irrigate the fields. Friends, India is progressively becoming a preferred destination for investment in renewables. In the last 6 years, nearly rupees 5 lakh crore or over $64 billion investment has been made in renewable energy sector in India. We want to make India a global manufacturing hub in the renewable energy sector. I will give you several reasons why you should invest in the sector of renewable energy in India. India has a very liberal foreign investment policy for renewables. Foreign investor can invest on their own or collaborate with an Indian partner to set up renewable energy-based power generation projects. India is progressively focusing on innovative bids for supplying 24/7 power from renewables. Solar wind hybrid projects have been successfully explored. The demand for domestically manufactured solar cells and modules is likely to be around 36 gigawatt over next 3 years. Our policies are in line with the technology revolutions. We are proposing to launch a comprehensive national hydrogen energy mission. After the success of PLI in electronics manufacturing, we have decided to give similar incentives to high-efficiency solar modules. Ensuring ease of doing business is our top priority. We have established dedicated project development cells and FDI cells in all ministries to facilitate investors. Today, every village and almost every household in India has access to electricity. Tomorrow, their energy demand will increase. Thus, demand for energy in India will keep growing. There are huge renewable energy deployment plans for the next decade. These are likely to generate business prospects of the order of around 1.5 lakh crore rupees or $20 billion per year. This is a big opportunity to invest in India. I invite investors, developers, and businesses to join India's renewable energy journey. Friends, this event connects the renewable energy stakeholders in India with the best of the global industry, policymakers, and academia. I am confident that this conference will have fruitful deliberations which will help India steer into a new energy future. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir, we are really very grateful for your address. And sir, we have more than 25,000 registered delegates, and they are growing by the minute. On behalf of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and the Ministry of Power, Government of India, I want to thank His Excellency the Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi ji, His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Alok Sharma, the Secretary for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, Government of United Kingdom, His Excellency Dan Jorgensen, the Minister for Climate, Energy and Utilities, Denmark, the Minister for Economic Affairs, Bhutan, His Excellency Leonpo Loknath Sharma, and all the ministers, lieutenant governors, all the dignitaries who are present. The next 2 days are going to be very busy. We have a huge exposition with more than 100 major companies showing their wares virtually. And we have a series of conferences lined up with all the eminent speakers from around the world, which will be, and all these conferences and meetings will be addressing different aspects of renewable energy and climate transition. Excellencies, what we are undertaking, this climate transition, is a partnership. And the presence of you all shows the strength of this partnership. And it is this partnership which will enable us to achieve our climate transition goals and to ensure that our environment is healed again and that we leave behind a planet, a healthier planet for our children and grandchildren. Let me thank you once again. We are really very grateful for taking the time and addressing all of us. And the points which have been made today will be further discussed.
तो